Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Waukesha regularly scheduled Town Board meeting on Thursday, September 26, 2019, and we are called to order at 6:30 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Chairman Fisher?
Here.
Supervisor German?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor?
Here.
Supervisor Radke is not with us this evening, correct?
Correct.
Okay, open meeting law compliance check. The agenda was posted on the 3 town public notice boards, the town website, and distributed to all news media, requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on or before Friday, September 20th, 2019. Can you confirm that that's correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Citizens' comments, anyone who would like to address the board, please come forward to the microphone.
Hi, it's Sandy Hom, West 230, South 3827, Milky Ridge Road. I just have a couple of comments here. Excuse me. In looking at the sheriff's report, which I've never really given much attention to, I noticed that over the last 2 months, the average miles per gallon is 7. And I'd be curious to know why that is. I don't even know if we pay for gas, but it just struck me as, boy, if I had that mileage, I'd certainly cut back, do something. And the other thing is not anything on the agenda, and it's simply a request that all board members maintain the utmost respect and their tone when speaking with each other. I know there are other members in the audience that find sarcasm and a dismissive attitude towards one another unpleasant for us and likely unpleasant for you. So it's nothing personal going on here. This is all just business. So everybody treat it that way. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. When we get the sheriff's report, perhaps Captain Moonen will respond to your question about the mileage. Anyone else who would like to address the board, please come forward. Please.
I think I'm supposed to be at court today, but I don't see that here. Am I not supposed to be here? Bonnie Grunfelder?
Sure, come on up to the microphone, Bonnie.
I'm here for my property looking bad,
Non-compliance.
non-compliance.
And you're not on the agenda because you didn't request to be on the agenda for tonight?
Oh,
So I guess that said, we won't deal with that, but you can certainly ask if that's what
so
Administrator
when's
Nicholas wants to be put on the agenda.
Next
Are we
date.
going to move that down a month or what?
Do you need to be put on the agenda?
Well, I thought at the last time I was at court, I thought they said come back on this day. I just assumed that
No,
would be it.
they gave you an extension to this day. And so if you were in compliance, then you would not need to show
up. Okay, well, I did the best I could,
I think our inspector was out there yesterday and took pictures.
and
Like
I
there was-
changed it a lot today because I
Yep.
have access to a trailer and I've been moving a lot of the wood. So,
Why don't we do this? We're not going to resolve that tonight. Do appreciate your being here. Sorry for any of the confusion.
okay.
Why don't you communicate with Administrator Nicholas in the coming couple of days, and then she can direct you whether it's appropriate or necessary for you to come back. And if it is, she'll put it on the agenda. If not, she won't, okay?
All right, thank you.
So thank you for being here. Anybody else for citizens' comments? If not, just a quick thing I should have maybe even mentioned at the head up of the meeting here before we get into the reports. When we met a couple of weeks ago, we had actually announced that there would be a meeting of the Committee of the Whole this evening at 6:30 to talk about visions for the town of Waukesha. I decided to forego that we've had a fair amount of that discussion that has been incorporated into the workshop on the capital plan. We have an opportunity to discuss that further tonight when we get down to that item on the agenda, which I think is item 9L. So we'll have an opportunity to talk about that, but that's the reason we have enough things on the agenda tonight. We started the regular town board meeting at 6:30. That said, reports, I think you have written reports in your packet of information, but we'll have the folks present those. So we'll start with the administrator, clerk, treasurer report, please, Kathy.
Did anyone have any questions on the report that was in your packet?
Why don't you just run through the highlights very, very quickly for those in the audience and anybody who's on YouTube, just catch the highlights of it, please.
All right, the incorporation work continues, working with the municipalities and the steps for incorporation. We have changed our water vendor to reduce our monthly costs. We've changed our postage meter vendor to reduce our costs. We started accepting credit cards this week, and we'll work through that, and the next step would be to get those payments to be made online. Our treasurer's report is the general fund revenues are $2,300,000. Our general expenses are $2,300,000. Our fire inspection revenue has not changed at $59,000. Our inspection expenditures changed to $32,000 to $33,000. The general fund revenues, $866,000. Capital fund expenditures, $183,000. We're working on, as the clerk, we're working on the budget. We have 5 entries on our non-compliance report, 4 on court, and 1 you just heard from was the extension from Bonnie. That's my report.
Okay, thank you. Just a real quick addition to that under the incorporation, the continuation of the incorporation work and the cooperative agreements or cooperative boundary agreements with the various municipalities, the first one of which was held with the town of Brookfield a week ago on Thursday night in this very room. The one that is scheduled for Monday night, the 30th of September, here next Monday night with the town of Vernon, is going to be rescheduled. I know Kathy's been working on that. That will probably take place on the 24th of October, but that's not firm yet. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's not,
and
not got
the
confirmation.
One for the town of McGuanago remains on schedule for the 8th of October.
That's correct.
All of those will take place in this room at 6:30 on those evenings. Any other questions of the administrator, clerk, treasurer? DPW, I know that Jerry Nooli is not here this evening. You've got a single page written report there that I think should be somewhat self-explanatory. Are there any questions which might or might not be able to be answered, or any comments, concerns on anything on that written report? Does anybody have anything to add to it or anything? Okay, then we'll move along. Fire Department, Chief Buchholz is here. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. August was 37 ambulance requests, 6 motor vehicle accidents, 8 fire responses. Mutual aid was given 6 times. Mutual aid was received 20 times. 14 of those were our paramedic exchange with Vernon. 1 person left the department in August. We have 38 active members, 1 person on leave absent, secretary treasurer, and currently no high school cadets. That's going to change here in the next few days. Fire prevention open house and pancake breakfast is October 5th, 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Buy your tickets early and often. The Rose Glen School Fire Prevention Programs will be the week of the 8th. The primary programs will be on the 8th of October, and the 2019 fire inspections continue.
Any questions? So just to reinforce, we are promoting the annual Fire Prevention Open House and Pancake Breakfast, October 5th, 7 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., and encourage many people to attend, right? Okay. Then we'll move on to 6D, Sheriff's Department report. I think we have some familiar faces in the audience. Please come forward. Give us your report.
Good evening, Chairman and the Board. This will be the report for August of 19. In the month, we did have 70 calls for service, which was a decrease of 17 from the previous month. You'll see there are some areas that we went up in to offset activity. We had 8 more building checks or open door checks that we do. We also increased by 19 extra traffic stops this month by the town squad. Crashes went up 1, and citations went up 7 from last month. Over the course of the month, we covered 22 contracts. Again, traffic enforcement due to the bypass project remained a high focus for us. We did have a neighborhood watch meeting on the 28th that went very well. And then I also devoted 2 extra days of traffic enforcement to the town. So essentially what I did is brought general sheriff squads into the town. There was generally 2 to 3 hours on 2 different occasions, and they focused on one main area. It was very good to see the compliance as well as enforcement that was necessary we took. So again, we gave 2 extra squads on 2 days to the town. Overall, there was 5 reports that were collected during the month, all of which were of general police matters, nothing of high interest. I had set up a speed study, if anybody saw it. It was again on Town Line in the area of Pheasant Run. It was my expectation that with the progression of the bypass project, that would become a shortcut for people to skate around the main construction area. So I set up a speed board on southbound. And essentially, if you saw it, it gives a speed display of what you're doing. It's a 35-mile-per-hour zone. I was very happy to see that the average speed was 35 miles an hour. And the 85th percentile, so 85 and less, of all motorists were going 39 miles per hour or lower. So that was good to see. Out of 3,317 vehicles that passed from 829 to 94, only 4% were what we would consider violators for the purpose of the speed board, so going over 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So overall, in my experience with setting up those boards, those are very good numbers to have. So if you guys need more on that, I do have a breakdown of it, but you'll be seeing more of those speed boards around the town, and they do collect data, so we'll be reporting more on those in the coming months when they get displayed. So, to address Mr. Ham's comment about the gas mileage, just things I quickly jotted down to hypothesize why it would be 7 miles per hour. We have to take into account it is an emergency vehicle, and they are responding to emergencies, which would be harder acceleration, as well as when we do get to emergencies, we generally don't have the time to shut the car off wherever they are, so the cars do get left on at that point. Also too, when we're doing speed enforcement, if somebody's already speeding, we have to, by statutory authority, exceed the speed limit to catch up to them, so that would be another cause that I could think. So, any questions of me?
I have one quick question. Your speed boards, you're not able to identify town board members or staff with those, I hope. Is that true?
That's true. There was a max speed of 64 miles per hour in a 35.
Oops.
I'm gonna maybe attribute that to an emergency vehicle.
Good. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Any questions of Captain Moonen or Deputy Moose?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for serving the town of Waukesha. Okay. We've got minutes of two meetings. One is the minutes, and we'll take them one by one, of the meeting of August 2nd, 2019. That was a regularly scheduled meeting, I believe, and all members of the board were in attendance. Is that accurate?
22nd.
So the meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2019. Any additions, corrections, actions to take?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes from, I'm sorry, what date again was that, August 22nd?
Okay. Motion to approve by Supervisor Stigler. Is there a second to the motion? I will second the motion. Any further discussion of the minutes of August 22nd, 2019? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously with 4 in favor. Then the minutes of the special town board meeting, which is held on August 26th, 2019, and I believe on that, Supervisor Durr, you were not present, so it was just Supervisors German, Stigler, and I, Supervisor Radke, was here, but he was not present. So of any of the three of us, any additions, corrections, those minutes, or action to be taken?
I'll make a motion to approve the August 26 minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Supervisor German, second by Supervisor Stigler to approve the minutes of the meeting, special town board meeting of August 26, 2019. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. So that passes 3-0 or unanimously. Item 8 is announced closed session number 1. We actually have 2 closed sessions tonight, and I'll simply tell you why they are broken apart. And that was at the suggestion of Administrator Nicholas, and that's because there's a closed session. We're going to have a consultant sitting in with us, so in deference to her presence in our pocketbook, we're going to probably do that first. So the notice of that is that you are hereby notified that the town board of the town of Waukesha will convene and may upon motion duly made and seconded and acted upon by roll call vote as required under Wisconsin Stats 1985 1E. Go into closed session during the course of the meeting. The town board members may attend the closed session. The purpose of the closed session will be as follows: to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss protection of town borders. At this time, if you're inclined to do it, a motion to go into closed session would be in order.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, the motion was by Supervisor German, seconded by Supervisor Stigler to go into closed session for the purpose that was read. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor German,
Aye.
Supervisor Stigler,
Aye.
Supervisor Durr. Aye. Chairman Fisher.
Aye. We are in closed session at 6:48 p.m. Hopefully you'll all be here when we come back out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if they need help, whatever, I'll tell them.
You can hand out the plates.
Hand out the what?
Plates.
Oh, I'm a chef, so.
You're a chef.
Anyways, so this was the last one, okay? So what I did is, this is a tag key number because that's what you use for the file. And gives the address, okay? And just, you can read the whole thing. Just, I mean, pardon? Well, that's active,
Adds
right?
it,
Okay,
active.
or the other ones are all closed.
That's just for the weeds.
Yeah, but here's what I discovered, okay? This is, I think, really important because it, and I've got, and I'll tell you, 4 squares right now. These are not in subdivisions, okay? There's a lot, there's a property in the northwest corner of Center Road and, Lonsdale down there. And it was a problem not being cut for 2 previous years. And they owned this forever. And now I'm making them cut it. They got, and they sold it, and somebody bought and built a house on it. Okay, so there's tax revenue.
Sure.
On the southwest corner of Big Bend Road and Little. It's a luxury to go somewhere else. They end up selling it, there's a house going up on it. Right across the street, there was an old farmhouse that was just, okay, and then it was a lot next to it all together.
Yeah.
They subdivided it into 2 lots.
And so,
Remodeled the existing house, put up a garage. The other lot that they sold, the people moved in, there's a brand new house there, and the people here just bought this one. So now you got 4 more residentials that are bringing tax revenue
what's your car, maybe you
just
drive 10
because
miles, doesn't
they got
matter.
quickly raise the grass.
Oh, yeah, I've been riding.
Okay, and I think that's really, I mean,
now you
how
see it.
much does that add up to a year?
We moved down like 30 years,
4, 6, between the 4 houses,
you know,
$16,000 on it.
and,
Okay, which we didn't have, huh?
That's great.
Yeah, I know.
the friend moved over.
See, that's what, Brian was gonna start putting, put this in the packets. I don't know if that's started yet or not, I gotta find out. I mean, I'm gonna give you a report once you do something with it,
Yeah.
okay? I'm not doing this for my health.
But,
Town is
you know,
clean.
they,
I mean,
Bob and Mike,
No, I think that's just, increasing the tax revenue here and there is, we just talked about that in the budget, where are we gonna get extra money from?
Yeah, well, this is what I had
I mean,
to talk to them
it's
about.
kind of a drop in the bucket compared to what they need, but still.
If they wanna put that tip in, and I was wondering if that would affect the taxes. Decide what different boards want.
yeah,
Sunset Drive.
and maybe do
My
that in
property.
retirement kind of thing, but I thought, you know, with us moving out. It was, yeah, I thought they'd do it, you know, but instead.
Anyways.
Came in and recarpeted and
So,
put in the new drop
We
ceiling.
get the people to know what's going on in town.
oh, and then there's another one
Are you kidding?
on, it's on Sunset, at the entrance of Miracle
doesn't show it down far enough.
I just kind of,
There's two properties right next to each other.
not Merrill Hills. Yeah, Burnell Drive. Right on this corner, Burnell and Sunset, this is north. Okay, right here, it's a Sharon property. And I had them start cutting it 2 years ago, and now they have it up for sale.
Oh, that property, okay, what I'm talking about is one way
Okay,
and Caroline.
that's right here.
Okay, these properties on this side,
Yeah.
they've had a whole bunch of crap for buildings and,
Do you want to file a complaint?
no,
Okay.
because I get in trouble.
I can't, you know, if it's weeds and grass.
No, it isn't. It
Oh.
isn't weeds and grass.
Oh,
It's,
it's building inspection
yeah, it's more of
code,
the,
code violations.
yeah. It's more of the, jails they don't have to do it all. It's improved though. They had, there was a,
So I didn't know why he was here.
torn apart that was sitting at the edge of the driveway waiting for people to pick it up, trash. And finally it was taken away. So I don't know if that was, if somebody made a complaint about it. But,
Okay, that's your call, so.
well, they put up one of those replacement, wooden garages along the side of it. Mm-hmm. There was one of those, was there.
Yeah, I know, you wrote the story.
Yeah.
I would.
So many cars sitting around outside. Yeah. And, oh, it's the one that has always a car sitting up at the end of his property for sale.
That, I don't know if it's.
You can't do anything.
Yeah, you can't know.
No, you can't do anything, and I'm not complaining about that, because he has a right to try to sell his property.
These plastic sheds.
Mhm.
They are not allowed.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay.
There was something a couple of years ago.
It's gotta be, because they're not even getting permits for it.
No, they were selling from Menards or,
It doesn't, they can sell whatever. It's up to the property owner to find out if it's legal where they live.
exactly, yeah.
Okay? So, so I gotta find out if that was, if he's putting this in the package. But I would just,
I don't think it was. Because they put the packets online,
really,
too, yeah.
I gotta find out about that. He said he was gonna take care of that. I mean, why should I bother?
Vacation all last week, so. She was on vacation last week.
I can still find out how to do it, but I'll talk to Brian. Why should I bother, why should I bother and do that?
I discussed it with Brian, because he was ready to.
I already have one of it. He was gonna put it in.
So I mean, no, I like it.
It just, I don't know why you can't even just put it right on here. Give me 30, give me a minute up there and go through it.
And you could just be part of this, rather
Well,
than DPW report.
it is a separate issue. But then again, they don't put, of course, they got all these code violation complaints for the building inspector, but that they just put on the list.
Sometimes they have the listing on the documents that I could.
I'm still, on the fringe, but come December 31st, I'm done. Unless I
It's
want
not
to
gonna
just
be
pretend.
every month, we go through winter, I'm not gonna have to give a new report or anything. But,
Maybe you do because of the stuff. Yeah. Instead of weeds.
but progress. Actually, makes it easier for me because I don't have to deal with all these all the time. And like I wrote on there, I had three people call up the town complaining about it. So the town gives them my name and number, they call them, I explain the whole process to them. I don't think I wanna do anything now. And it's like, well, what are you complaining about then?
Yeah, well, they don't want to get back to the person that owns the property.
And I tell everybody, I said, there's only not even a 1% chance that happens, because I don't give out that information. I purposely don't. If somebody asks me, oh, complain, I said, the town gives me the address and I have to investigate. You'll have to go and request open records request, and guess what? They don't want to take the time and bother. So, problem solved.
Yes.
And it works all the time. It's my way of encouraging them to go ahead with it. I said, it's not gonna go away by itself. But anyway,
That's a good incentive for people
I'm
to.
surprised Jerry's not here. And we just, is a part-time guy, which not really that great. He quit. And then, which is no big loss, but it's still a body. The planner, the engineer? Yeah, engineer, yeah. Yeah, he's in there. Yeah, that's one of the reasons he's here, is for that meeting.
Because if it's considered
Yeah.
private property.
Yeah, Kathy held the door open for him. And then Paul, who is full-time with Jerry, is Terry's husband. He's gonna be on vacation from October 1st to the 12th. So I gotta cover for him now. Cause there ain't nobody else. It's just Jerry and me.
It's hard to get.
So, but I don't know how much it's gonna be. We're talking, we got rain tomorrow, so we'll be in the shower. Rain on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, I don't know. We'll see.
It would be nice if it.
I know they're getting stuff ready for working on stuff for the trucks, for the snowplows. Getting a few things cleared up on that. And I said finally they got the 3-year contract down there for the workmen. I saw that, right? Oh, right here. Discussion. 3-year contract for working. Finally, she got it.
Oh, working, that's a snowplow people.
Right.
Yeah.
For the landscape.
The rest of us are pups.
Real good people. They're the ones that brought the dumpster out.
I got news for you.
Take those.
Oh,
He's got somebody from French, French,
January of 2018.
weird Austin berries or what?
They were terrible.
It's like,
I mean, really.
the last time I was here.
I had Jerry had me come in the next day and take my truck and go through all of route number 2, clean it up.
It is
Took me all day.
It is still.
You know, and
Yeah,
so
it was unbelievable. And then
you know,
he,
one medication he took.
I just,
Well,
I showed him photographs. He went crazy.
Yeah, your dad happens to be that one.
And so, and it doesn't say that it's
he couldn't say a thing. Like he knew, okay, this ain't good. So it's taken them that long. Last year they did pretty good.
Yeah, so you really couldn't do
Well, they must have got some different guys or something too, but, I mean,
What about, they're 4 feet from the edge of the road,
and they're not doing cul-de-sacs, and I was like, oh my God, it was just. And then I'm going, we get from here, and I drive home to my subdivision, and they're still following. What are they doing?
Not a rocker, not one with a lever, not a power one.
Well, they're not,
One where you have to push on the arm.
hourly rate is,
This is a man
so,
with holy
but still,
and has, shoulder to shoulder.
and the equipment
Yeah,
is,
and so, anyway,
it's not like town stuff.
the doctor, someone told
But
him,
whatever.
or I guess it was Dan, told him, either feet up. So that's a good idea.
automatically.
Buy one of those chairs that not only lifts them up, but tilts you out, when you're done.
Picks you up, puts you
Yeah,
on your feet.
and, so anyway, David wants to know, like, well, I've got some, my dad's in my school,
this business and
sales, like antiques and whatever.
new
Like I said, we
equipment
just
for
take that money,
town.
Get in the chair.
and get him a chair.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, but, so, he doesn't say yes, you know what I mean?
Stuff that
So anyway, I mean, so now he's,
in our fire.
Danny also, was out checking with the doctor, anything else, I gotta take, I'm going back to call the doctor, get the prescriptions and everything else.
They had a big,
And,
big winter storm out in
so,
Montana, in Idaho out there.
he says,
80-mile-an-hour winds,
oh,
blizzard,
so Danny
even
tells me
early
she
for them.
exercises more. Okay, he's 95.
I know, they tell my dad's 95 too.
And it's like, really, Dan? No, I mean, he's got his leg actually bends the other way.
Hopefully,
He
you
goes the other way.
know, the biggest issue we got, hopefully we don't
He's
have
twice a week
a
going
lot
down
of
to the
mechanical
on the
problems.
first floor and get whatever it is, in the exercise bike.
Keeping
And,
It's a feel-good exercise.
situation.
Yeah,
and
that,
then he,
And the ice, that's
he's been,
well,
I
yeah.
don't know, appointed or elected or whatever to the Avalon.
I was gonna ask.
That's scary.
So he goes to that, but I'm sure he doesn't wear hearing aids, so I don't think he hears.
Yeah, or dad, will not wear his
And,
I mean, it's,
yeah, I mean, it's
My
hard.
dad is 95.
we're gonna,
And,
it's like,
Yeah, shit.
yeah, shit, exactly.
it's, you're not gonna be able people knocking on the door to do this.
Tom, my husband, loves my dad. He didn't pay forever. He said, I'll take him, but next week. So Tom says he makes an appointment to take him for a haircut.
Yeah, I don't wanna
We
be
take
out,
him to Fuzzy's first.
be
And
out
we
there
notice
pushing
that he's
snow
got
at
his baseball cap on, there's no hair
75
sticking out.
years old.
Hey, did you get a haircut? Yeah. Don't,
Already got it.
you already got one, and Tom's got 2 appointments for haircuts, so Tom cancels.
Yeah, I know, it
Yeah.
just, each individual is
Yeah,
different.
at least my dad, I don't know, he
Fortunate, I mean, I'm
his data,
fortunate,
so,
have
he does,
decent health,
stuff out, so when you go,
be able to
wherever
do
you
this
are,
stuff, so.
he has a use for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, no, my dad, so that he doesn't hit everyone, one person in forever.
Well, since we had that
That's
fire,
funny.
it really depressed him. And
We
I
just
was
hear
really
the same
frustrated
stories.
so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, that's not good.
Taking him moved,
Take the wind out of your sail.
oh, he's got to lose weight now.
But I will say that I've slowed, from what I used to do several years ago, I slowed down
But
just a bit.
Yeah. I've had it in my mind as obviously. That's why I gave up with Board of Appeals, of course, in that, or, you know, he was in,
Yeah.
From Radke, still pissed
And I
off
don't
from last
care.
week, why he isn't.
One of the items.
he's,
Yeah.
Today. Oh, because it contains all the minutes that have been approved, it contains everybody's, things and all that. They don't distribute everything out. That's the PDF, I got it on my phone. But anyway, one of the items that, second to last meeting, issue came up with the new capital plan, and the regular acquisition. He's got on the plan, somewhere around 3 point something things in 5 years on the firehouse. And that's what the stipulation is.
25th.
And so, and then this is the one piece of thing. There is no way to buy it. It's 25 minutes. We can get the car running. Okay. We have to sell it.
Good for you.
Who's the deputy clerk? What is her name? You said her husband works? The deputy clerk. What is her name?
Oh, Terry.
Terry.
Terry Sales.
Yeah, I keep forgetting her name for some reason. She's a real nice girl.
Well, Joan is a deputy clerk.
The heavy set woman?
Huh?
Yeah, yeah, the older woman.
Yeah.
right, good evening again. We are back in open session at 7:18 p.m. here on the evening of September 26, 2019. Thank you to all of you, those of you who are still with us, and we'll go on with our agenda for the open meeting. And item 9 is discussion and possible action on a variety of matters. 9A is discussion and possible action on protection of town borders. There's nothing to address or to deal with or to share during the open meeting, so we'll pass on to item 9B is discussion and possible action on a letter of credit. Petitioner Jack Gaudian, did I get close enough? The legend at Merrill Hills. Who is taking this issue?
I'll take this one, I think. I prepared a letter on September 4th, which I think should be in your packets. The development team provided us with some cost estimates and actually some bids from their contractors and subcontractors, which has been also attached to that same letter. We've reviewed that, those costs and the values associated with it, and it's itemized there for you to see as to what those values are and what they're for. We've provided a 20% contingency, which is standard for the town of Waukesha and per the developer's agreement. One thing of note is this particular development has a post-substantial completion guarantee for, in essence, the road protection. So as you might recall, this development is kind of an island unto itself, and will be using some town roads to get to the site to do construction. So they've provided some monies there to help us make repairs or correct what gets broken. So total letter of credit that we see there is $1,751,600, and I believe Mr. Macy has reviewed the form to it. And oh, you've not? Okay. Oh no, probably not, because they haven't said yes, right? So the form of the letter of credit is subject to the review and recommendation by Mr. Macy. And that's all I have.
Scotty, anything you want to add to this agenda item or not?
No, I think, I spoke with Kathy today as to how you go about reducing the letter of credit help as improvements are made. And she explained the process to me, completely understand that. My bank needed to know that process, and then we will be submitting the letter of credit, because obviously I have to have behind the letter of credit a construction loan as well.
Okay.
So just to let the board understand that process, now that Jack mentioned it, Jack would, just like every other developer would, contact Chris about a reduction of the letter of credit. Chris will then write a letter stating that he agrees with that reduction, and then I bring it to the board, and the board makes the final decision.
So the appropriate action tonight would be to accept the recommendation from Reichert and Melke, Inc. to accept a letter of credit in the amount of $1,751,600, subject to approval of the form of the letter of credit by the town attorney. Would that be the appropriate motion?
Yes, we just need to know if the board wants to see it back. I would assume by that wording, you would not want to see it back here again. You would just defer to make sure that it's in proper.
I'll put that into the form of a motion so we can discuss that and address what Mr. Macy here called our attention. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I made the motion, was seconded by Supervisor German. Discussion, and we probably ought to address the issue of whether you need to see that come back, or if you're supportive of this, whether you'll simply defer that to Attorney Macy. Any thoughts on that? I'm okay deferring it simply to him. Does anybody else think we need to see it come back?
Trust me, if they don't put it in a form that I can agree to, that it'll be back. You have to make the policy decision if their bank doesn't agree to the standard length.
We're kind of assuming as such. Okay, further discussion. Anything more, Engineer Janelli? Anybody else? Okay, then I'll, since we're ready to vote, everybody understands the motion. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So that passes unanimously. Item 9C is discussion and possible action on snow storage easement. Petitioner Jack Gaudian, the Legend at Merrill Hills. Who is going to introduce this item? Is that you again, Engineer Janelli? You're gonna start?
Yes, I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
So I actually prepared a letter on September 13th as a draft for both the snow storage easement and landscape island easements. As I was kind of going through that, I had some questions that felt Attorney Macy should try to look at and review. He had since then provided some of the red line documents that you probably see in your packet as to his comments on those easements or licenses as he put them. And I had revised my letter after reviewing his comments and questions, and got that to Kathy after she had put the packet together. And it's actually shorter. Did you not see him? Basically, the only comment that I have at this point is that we should be having an exhibit, and I'm trying to find my letter. Apologize for being a little click happy here. I have two comments. One is both the snow storage and landscape island easement documents refer to an easement description identified as Exhibit A. However, that exhibit was not included, and we recommend that that be submitted and incorporate a typical meets and bounds description for it. Okay. Is there a meets and bounds associated with it? It'll be in your plat eventually, but it should go with the easement. Right. And then just addressing the comments from Mr. Macy in his September 19th letter, and that is all I have.
Attorney Macy, you want to pick it up from there? And maybe even as you do, Mr. Gaudian, you might even want to come to the microphone here. We want to make sure we capture anything you have to say, and maybe just even one quick question in terms of what you have. Do you have a copy of the letter of September 13th from Engineer Janelli? And do you have the, I'll call it markup, and we'll get to a minute. Do you have Attorney Macy's suggested revisions and so forth?
I believe that's Attorney Macy's, yes.
And you do or do not have Mr. Janelli's latest?
I don't have anything dated past September 13th.
Okay, and he kind of ran through that. That's pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just hang out for a minute. Do you want to go through, Attorney Macy, some of the suggested modifications that you proposed?
I can. The main one, of course, is that we've always suggest in these instances that, you know, certain detail be put into it. So this one I don't believe we show as a license. This one is just a straightforward, we're on the stormwater, on the snow storage.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think the changes are self-explanatory, and if the property owner is agreeable to them, I think we can just answer any questions that people might have.
I just think you expanded on it just to make sure there's no confusion. I have no issue with any of the language.
So if there's no questions, Mr. Chairman, it would be a motion to approve, subject to satisfying the comments, questions, concerns of the town engineer and town attorney to the satisfaction of the town administrator.
So there's your motion. Who just made that?
Supervisor Durr.
Just made that motion. Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
And the essence is she has our letters. If she has any questions, she contacts us, but she signs off on it and does not come back.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion was made by Supervisor Dorr, seconded by Supervisor Stigler. Does everybody understand the motion?
I have a question.
Further discussion? Go ahead.
Do we have anything to worry about with the storm water management? Because isn't Merrill Hills Road in our stormwater management program?
I guess I don't know what you're asking.
For runoff? For snow storage? Salt, sand, anything? Do we have any issues with any of that?
No, I don't think so, because you'd be plowing it anyway. And
Okay.
that you'd be storing, in essence, what you've got there is a snow storage easement for the ditch
Okay.
that you'd plow the snow into.
Any other questions or comments? Then since you're prepared to vote, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously 4-1. Then 9D, Mr. Gaudian, what's sorry? I'm sorry.
You said 4-1,
I'm-
Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
You said 4-1 was the count, what's?
Didn't bring my A game tonight, did I? 4-0
Thank you.
unanimously. Sorry about that. 4-0. I'll have to go back and look at the tape, you're sure, huh? All right, I'll take your word for it. It's hard to say unanimously 4-1. Something wrong with that. Okay. Mr. Gaudian, your popular 9D, discussion and possible action on landscape island easement. Petitioner Jack Gaudian, legend at Merrill Hills.
A little bit out of sequence in your packet.
Well, that's okay. You got something more to add, Engineer John?
I do not really. I